Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to put you through another leg workout, glute and hamstring focused, but I'm going to give you some scientific tricks on how to really engage your glutes and make sure you're targeting that specific area. Someone like me who is very quad dominant, I've been able to really focus on how to train my glutes properly over the last 2 years to take out that quad engagement and to really focus on contracting my glutes and putting the tension and the work where I want it to be. So right now I'm just doing a simple warm-up with a bunch of body weight squats. I'm keeping the weight on the outer side and heel of my toes, along with externally rotating my knees outwards, which is going to put more of the tension on my glutes, and not just specifically the glute maximus, but also the medius and the minimus, to target those smaller glute muscles to really get them warmed up, get the hip flexors warmed up, and really to have that range of motion and mobility in your hip flexors and your glutes, and to be able to perform your exercises that much better. So you're going to want to do the warm-up 3 to 4 times. I would add in some leg swings to really open up the hip flexors, maybe some banded squats also, and foam rolling if you have a foam roller, to really loosen up the glutes and get them ready for the kind of engagement we need to get them to grow. So we're moved on to the first exercise here, which is a unilateral leg lunge, and it's a reverse lunge. So my sister performed it as just a single lunge at a time. I'm here performing it as two lunges per 1 rep, and basically it's just going to keep more engagement on that glutes, and you're going to have more tension, time under tension, putting the work on the glutes. So the biggest thing is to have a 90-degree angle with your front leg. And you also want to make sure that you're keeping all the weight on your front leg, but the heel portion. And you really want to think about sitting back, so you're going to get that really great glute engagement. Sit back like almost like you're sitting in a chair with your glute, keeping the tension on that glute. And the biggest thing with this kind of exercise is you want to mindfully think about contracting your glutes before you even engage in the exercise. So before you even lunge down, you want to think about squeezing that front glute and already having that kind of engagement prior to even starting the exercise. So Maddie has now moved on to another variation. So I'm basically just showing you a few different variations of the reverse lunge that all target the glutes really well. This one is where you're going to do more of a thrust forward. So again, you want to keep that front leg at a 90-degree angle. When you thrust forward, you're going to completely tilt the pelvis forward, and that's really going to allow you to get that glute engagement, and you're going to want to squeeze the butt at the top, and your bum should get into that ugly butt look where you're really squeezing. So you want to tilt your pelvis forward, allowing your glutes to fully engage, and then thrust them even more further by squeezing them to have that contraction fully with the glutes. We're then moving on to a variation of a sumo squat with a wide stance stiff leg deadlift. And again, you're going to want to mindfully contract your glutes prior to even beginning this exercise. So what I mean by that is when you start, you're going to want to squeeze the outside of your glutes and then drop down to the squat, come up, squeeze, drop down to the stiff leg, up and squeeze. And you want to keep the weight again on the heel of your foot, even though you're in this different placement, and keep your weight shifted backwards. You're also going to want to focus on keeping your back straight and your chest up. That's going to keep you in proper alignment to have that engagement perfectly on your glutes. And again, I like to focus on externally rotating my knees outwards, which is going to give me that much more engagement in the outside muscles of the glutes. So you're really going to want to come up and squeeze, go down, squeeze. I like to do this exercise slow, so I'm really focusing on that engagement prior to anything else. And if you find that you're feeling this in your lower back, or you're not feeling that kind of glute engagement, I really suggest you go lighter in the weight, because with these exercises, it's very important that you're getting that kind of muscle work as opposed to just lifting heavy and having a different muscle group take over. And you shouldn't feel this in your quads. If you're feeling this in your quads, then you need to really focus on squeezing those glutes before you engage in that work. We're then moved on to a stiff leg deadlift. I love these because I find that they really target the glutes and the hamstrings. A lot of the times I will put the 5-pound plates under my toes just to focus on keeping the tension right on the heel, along with allowing myself to get into a further stretch. But I'm just doing them as performed normally. Again, back nice and straight. And you want to just focus on, when you start the movement, squeezing your glutes, then thrusting your glutes outwards as you shift down. So my sister's going to perform them again as well. She's doing a bit of a smaller range of motion, but you can still see she's getting that nice glute engagement at the top. So that's the biggest thing. Take a pause at the top to allow those glutes to squeeze and allow yourself to feel that tension there. And keeping the weight on your toes. If you find that you aren't, then I would suggest doing the plates under your, keeping the weight on your heel. If you're putting the weight on your toes, I suggest putting the little plates under to keep the weight where it's supposed to be kept. And back nice and straight, keep your core tight to keep that tension on the specific point that we're trying to target. So for the hip thrusters, there's a few different ways to do it, but you want to focus on keeping your leg at a 90-degree angle. You want to keep the weight on the outside heel portion of your toes. So a lot of the times I don't even have my toes down. They'll be kind of elevated because the weight is all on the heel. And you want to focus on pushing your knees outwards as you thrust up, and that's going to allow you to really get the engagement of your medius and minimus muscles while they're stabilizing those hip flexors in that movement. And that's going to be the same thing as the next movement as well. So here my sister's performing them, and she started off with not a 90-degree angle, and so I told her to adjust her legs and move them outwards to get them in a 90-degree angle. So she didn't quite understand there, but then see how I got her to move them out so then her leg is more on a 90-degree angle. And the same thing, keeping all the tension on the heel of your foot, allowing your knees to push outwards, which will get that engagement even further in your glutes. And as you come up, squeeze. So squeeze at the bottom and allow yourself to control the movement on the way down. So your glutes should be controlling the movement on the way up and the way down to get that engagement throughout the entire exercise, not just on the upper portion of that. And then going on to this Starfish, I'm not really even sure what this is called, but I find it really great for hitting that minimus muscle because it's just a small muscle, but you're really targeting it in this specific exercise. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come up, thrust as hard as you can with your glutes, open up, and then back down. And what this really does is because you're targeting those smaller muscles, it also forces your hips, your hip flexors to really stabilize themselves because you're in that open position, allowing those little muscles to really fire. So again, you want to make sure that when you come up, you're squeezing your glutes, which is going to take all the tension off your lower back. So up, squeeze, out, keeping that squeeze the whole time. So it's really, really going to be targeting those smaller muscles when you do this because you're just doing a light portion of weight, but you're really going to get a lot of work done out of this exercise. It is a really great exercise for targeting those smaller muscles in your glutes, and I'm going to start incorporating this into almost all my workouts because it does really open up your hip flexors as well while you're performing this exercise. So I'm just showing it again. So yeah, you're going to want to use an elevated bench. I usually just put it on the first notch. If you do it too high, then you are going to run into a situation where your lower back is going to want to take the work. So you're going to want to do it. And I don't, Regan just fooling around. That was his way to get in the video. But yeah, you want to keep the bench in a position that you're going to have the engagement in the glutes, and that's it. And then moving on to just a body weight cable kick over. I like to do these where you come up and then you go over and really focus on squeezing your glute and then driving your leg up and squeezing it again at the top. So you just, with glute training and hamstring, you just want to focus on mindfully connecting with that muscle. If you can't connect with your glutes, you're not going to feel them, and you're going to end up taking the tension and putting the work on the quads, which is what we don't want if you're trying to target the glutes. So really learning how to connect with it. Maybe that you need to use band work, using unilateral movements, which are going to help you target one glute at a time. But again, it's going to be trial and error and kind of seeing which exercises work best with you, and then that is what I would stick with, because whatever is going to work best with you is what you're going to want to perfect. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for a lot more content, and have a great day, evening, or whenever it is that you guys are watching this, and please like and subscribe if you did like the video. Thanks guys, I'll see you later. Bye.